Hello, everyone. It's Steve. I'm flying solo tonight. Mark's at work. So I thought I would take this opportunity to chat for a hot minute about questions that straight people ask me. Now, I kind of did a little bit of searching around the web and found a bunch of different articles and different questions. It's like questions straight people ask that are too afraid to ask to your face and stuff like that. And I compiled about 10 of them. And I was just going to touch on each of them briefly. Now, I try to keep most of my discussions PG-13, but it's hard to talk about gay stuff without possibly mentioning sex. It's about sexual orientation, sexual choice, whatever your feelings are about what leads you to it. So, just as a heads up, it might come up. But again, I don't want to make this gross or over the top because whatever the reason you're watching the video, if you're only watching it and you don't give a shit about gay shit, but you like watching me, well, thanks. If you're just getting info about gay stuff from a gay perspective, that's cool too. You know, whatever your motive, please watch, please subscribe, all that good shit. So I'm just gonna run down these real quick, and some of them may seem a little abrupt, or possibly a little rude, but sometimes people ask abrupt and rude questions. So that's kind of what it is. So let's get to it. I'm using the glasses because it's a late night and I have a candle burning and we're going a little dark tonight. This was almost intentional. So, first question I get about being queer. When did you know? Well, I could be a smartass and say, when did you know you were straight? But whatever age puberty starts, I suppose, is when I knew. Whatever age young boys start exploring their bodies with their hands. And this is probably, I don't know if this is for women as well as men, never been a woman. But you start to think about things while you're doing that. Maybe fantasize is the right word. Women weren't entering my mind, men were. So at the first age that I started to become a sexual person outside of being a child, turning into an adult, I knew then that something was different. So, are your parents or your family comfortable with it? I came out when I was 18. I'm 36, so I've been out now as long as I've been in. At the time, I came out to each of them differently. I called and told my mother over the phone, which I don't recommend. And she told my father. So, and I didn't even know what I was telling my mother at the time. I just said, a boy kissed me, and I didn't stop him. And I was hysterical on the phone. She was fine. You know, she's like, well, does that mean you're bisexual? I didn't know my mother even knew what bisexual was. I don't know. I didn't think highly enough of her, I guess. So, told her over the phone. She told my dad, which, kind of good, kind of bad. I don't know. My dad's not scary, but he's very quiet, so it's hard to guess what he thinks about stuff. I called my sister. My sister's cool. I've never called her before that, and I don't know if I've called her since. And she was very much like, yeah, okay. And then I told my brother in person in his dorm room, and his then girlfriend, now wife, was there in the room. And I brought one of my girlfriends with me because I thought I needed witnesses because my brother is so Catholic, it hurts. Nice Catholics. My whole family's nice Catholics. It makes their world bigger, not smaller. They're cool people. But I was scared of it because I went to Catholic school. So I go in, I tell him, and in so many words he says, no shit, I knew since you were 16. Would have been nice if he told me. I could have had someone to talk about it with, and it would have been not so awkward for the last 2 years of high school. But that's not his responsibility. It's mine. So they're all cool with it. I was best man in my brother's wedding. I had brought 2 dates, that girlfriend, and my then boyfriend. So there was cool on that end. My dad has met and been cool with all the guys I've met. My mom's been to a couple gay bars, and she enjoyed it. My parents both came down to Philly for Pride, so they're supportive. They're not marching in parades with P flag, but they don't treat me any differently than they do my brother and sister and their spouses. Mark's always invited. Mark's pretty much family at this point. So they're all comfortable with it. Do I think it may be a phase? 18 years is not a phase. At the beginning, I think my parents thought it might have been because I was trying to find myself. So I was like trying out different fashion styles. I was like goth, and then I was a raver, and then I had blue hair, and then I had orange hair, which is probably why now I have no hair. And experimenting with everything, including sexuality, at least in practice. I knew in my head what I felt, but it's totally different than actually trying things. And I was experimenting with drugs and other stuff, so I think it all got swept in with that. So there was probably some doubt as to how genuine it might have been. But of all the things that came and went, I've been gay the whole time. So, how do you know you're gay if you've never been with a woman? Shocker, I've been with a woman. By the way, sir, how do you know you're straight if you've never been with a man? Or have you? So, do you ever wish you were straight? Maybe. You know, I don't know if I wish I were straight, but I think there's some things that are probably easier when you're straight. You know, I don't have to think about, you know, gay marriage is legal now. So, I mean, there's that out of the way. You don't have to have like stacks of paperwork just to have legal relationships and financial relationships and medical relationships with your partner. So there's that end of things. It would have probably been easier getting through school, but even if I wasn't gay, my personality was such that everyone would have thought I was gay anyway. So I wouldn't have escaped the bullying, being called a faggot, or any of that stuff. Just because I would have liked women doesn't mean I would have escaped the bullying, probably. Because I still acted in a very flamboyant way that is associated with either being a theater director, a choir director, or gay, or some combination thereof. So, yeah, yes and no. Whatever way I was born, and this is how I was born, I guess. So, do you think it's a choice, or were you born this way? I don't know. I mean, if you ever met me as a kid, you would know that it was not a choice. It's hard to equate mannerisms with being effeminate, or being masculine with being gay or straight. I mean, those gendered toys, my sister had this big Barbie head that you could like put makeup on and play with its hair. I used to like steal it and play with it. But I also played in Little League. I had a bike, I'd fix the chain, it'd get oily. I played in the YMCA basketball league. So I did guy stuff. But I like doing that stuff too. So I had interests that were across the board. So there wasn't really like I don't know. And then when I switched over from being a child into being a teenager, and I started to actually become a sexual being as such, my preference wasn't for women. I wasn't interested in what a woman looked like without her clothes on. I wasn't interested in being intimate with a woman. It just wasn't there. You know, I couldn't drum it up. It just wasn't there. So I would have to say, whether you want to think of it as an orientation or whatever, it was there. It was there the whole time. There was never a period where it wasn't. So if you want to call it born that way, call it born that way. That's about my feeling on it. I cannot speak for the entire gay community. That's another stupid thing people do, even though it's not a question. They'll have a question about like whether something's right or wrong, and then they'll turn to me and like, Steve, you're gay. What do you think? Like, I speak for everybody. You know, it's like being the only minority in the room, and everyone's like, Steve, you're gay. What do you think about the AIDS epidemic? It's like, first of all, there is so much wrong with everything about that. But whatever. So, do I want to have kids? No. So sometimes you get the long end of the stick. There's a couple reasons, and I'm going to channel Shelby here from Steel Magnolias. No judge would give a child to someone with my legal record, my medical record, my mental health record, my credit score. It probably just wouldn't happen. I'm also older than I would prefer to be to have a child at this age, like now anyway, or at least a newborn. I imagine I'd be raising a child with Mark unless I wanted one, he didn't, and he left. That would be not surprising. I don't think he likes kids either. But if I did, and if I were able to, I think I would probably go the route of getting a child that was a foster child and then go into adoption, and probably a tween or a teen foster. I do some work with kids in the foster care system. And, you know, it's all well and good to say, you know, no child is unwanted. All life is precious. We will take care of these children. There's not a huge hell of a line, hell of a long line to get to 17-year-olds with behavioral health problems. The kids I work with age out of group homes, and if they're lucky, go into an adult group home, or have to get onto like subsidized housing and try to live off $700 and change for the rest of their lives. There's not even a chance to fail because there was no chance to succeed. So being able to offer some more support than just being, raised by people from 7 to 3, 3 to 11, and 11 to 7, and trying to call them parents, that would be where I would adopt if I could. But don't think it's in the cards. So, why do all gay people have lisps? My father brought that question up, and I have absolutely no good response. I have nothing to say. I have no defense. I've always had a bit of a lisp, for whatever reason. Mine seems to be increasing. I think my teeth are shifting. I should have worn my retainer, because now they're banging into each other, and it's making me sound different. There's something kind of dramatic and grandiose about the way both Mark and I talk. Believe me when I tell you, I know plenty of gay men without lisps, though. And I know some straight men who get accused of being gay because they have one. So it's kind of one of the things that are like, correlation, causation, that kind of thing. So I don't know. But if you hear a guy with a lisp, do you just... is there a chance that he's gay? Yeah. But you have to pair that together with a bunch of other things. That's like really cheap gaydar. Like if that's your only tool for assessing if someone is gay or not, just totally based on reading the shallow stereotypes, you got to figure some more stuff out too. Are you and your boyfriend married? No, Mark and I are not married, even though it's legal now. I don't think that we're having that discussion, really. I mean, we're practically married. Financially, we had merged some of our money together a little bit into the relationship. Like we keep separate, we have like one joint account for this, and then a separate one for this, a separate one for that. We had one credit card that we're both on, but then I have this one and he has that one. We split the rent, but then I pay this bill and he pays that bill. And so, yeah, some of our stuff is merged, some of it isn't. We both want to keep our own names, probably. Sometimes the mail comes to my household, and sometimes it comes to his. So, it depends. But no, we're not married. There's no rush to be married, but I don't think there's any opposition to it either. So, we'll see. I'm not going anywhere. So, I don't know. And, which one of you is the girl? This one usually comes up from 20-something guys who think they're going to get a rise out of me. Usually they're with a group of friends, and they think they're being cute. Which one's the girl? No one's the girl, you dumbass. That's what makes it gay. Okay? So those are my 10 questions. There's many others. If you have any others, feel free to leave them below. Please subscribe. Feel free to leave other comments if you like. Give us the thumbs up. You can follow me and Mark on Instagram at SmokeySteveAndMarc. And I will catch up with y'all soon. Bye!